Currently, as I record this video, the average 30-year mortgage rate in America stands at 7.5%. This rate marks the highest point since December 2000, which was approximately 23 years ago. Now, what makes this situation particularly striking is that individuals venturing into the housing market today have likely never experienced or even been aware of interest rates at this magnitude, and it's entirely plausible that their parents never did either. We are witnessing a generational high in mortgage rates, which has had an obvious and profound impact on the real estate market. Now, to add fuel to this massive fire, the situation has gotten exponentially worse when we factor in the recent trajectory of housing prices over the past 3 years. This deadly combination of rising interest rates and escalating prices has created a ticking time bomb, one that is just minutes away from a flash that engulfs the entire house of cards. With rates appearing to edge towards 8%, many are starting to wonder if this could be the knockout blow that people have been anticipating, the catalyst that finally bursts the massive global housing bubble. With reports of slowdowns in various hotspots throughout the United States, the fear is growing by the minute, and now we look at the newest data to find out if these rumors are true. Is the ground finally starting to shake, and is the mega bubble finally popping? On January 7th, 2021, the average 30-year mortgage in the United States was 2.65%. This was the lowest reading in recent history, stretching back to 1971. But with a little bit of digging, I found out that although the data may be murky in the years prior to 71, this is very likely the lowest reading in American history. From this point, rates will begin to do something nobody could ever imagine. Month by month, they accelerated, pushing up at a pace that has never been seen before, nearly tripling in less than 3 years. Now, at the same exact time this was happening, the average American home also began a rapid acceleration to the upside in price. In that same exact time frame, the Case-Shiller, the index for tracking typical home prices in the US, jumped up 32%. What this resulted in was simple, arguably the most expensive market in history. According to the latest Redfin report, which doesn't even take into account this week's bump in rates, the typical American mortgage is now $2,600 a month. Just to give you some perspective on this number, it wasn't long ago that it was $1,300. This means in the same time frame we talked about earlier, mortgage payments have nearly doubled. Just from the perspective of affordability, there is simply no way new buyers can continually prop up this bizarre market long term. To shed some light on just how bad things have gotten, look no further than the #1 personal finance guru in the world, Dave Ramsey. Ramsey's home affordability rule is considered by many to be the golden standard for calculating how much house you should really buy. And what it calls for is a 20% down payment on a 15-year mortgage, followed by spending no more than 25% of your take-home pay for the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and etc. included. Now, applying this rule in the current real world would mean that to afford a $300,000 house, one would have to make around $182,000 as a household. That means to afford a typical average home in a standard average American city, a household needs to make more money than 90% of families in the US. In summary, one needs to be very well off in order to afford a modest house in this country under these wild conditions, and given how much housing drives this economy, that simply isn't enough of a share to keep this home market afloat. For 30 plus years, we had an unprecedented era where rates were continually being pushed down. Take a look at any chart of the 30-year mortgage for the last 50 years, and you'll see quickly that this is a story of the real estate century. Rates have been falling for an entire generation, and because of this, prices naturally moved up. As Warren Buffett once put it, interest is like gravity in the finance world. The higher it is, the less likely the price of everything will move up. For 30 years now, we've had very low gravity on homes, which caused prices to float higher and higher. This chart explained everything. It wasn't surprising for economists to see this type of behavior because it was naturally explained by this. But now with this sharp increase, this no longer makes sense, and it's only a matter of time before market forces naturally take corrective action. That was exactly the explanation renowned bubble historian Jeremy Grantham had when he was questioned about the current housing market on the Compound and Friends. Take a listen to the clip and hear it from the man himself. But before you do, please just take a few seconds to like and subscribe. Every like is fuel for the algorithm to push this video and help this channel. And while you're at it, make sure you check out the description below, which contains the link for the full podcast video.
No one can afford to buy a house now. Yeah. No young kids coming out can buy a house. This is not a stable equilibrium. Furthermore, the mortgages have gone from 3, which explains everything, to 7, which explains nothing. And eventually the 7 will start to explain quite a bit. But how long does it take? I mean, just think. The first reflex is, I can't move, for God's sake. I can't afford to go from 3 to 7.
Sure.
So I am going to stay, which means no houses are on the market, which means for the handful of people who have to move, they're actually in a bidding war.
And prices stay up.
Yeah. But so real estate has never been about 3-month predictions. It works slowly but surely. In the end, you pay more because you could afford to. In the end, you will pay less because you can't afford to. House prices will come down in everywhere from Australia. Mentioned that in Australia, it's World War III instantly. They are more optimistic than Americans, and they hate any idea that they're real estate.
But Jeremy, by how much? Because I agree, housing prices, it's an awful issue for people that are looking to get into a home. Are they going to come down by 10%, down by 30, or?
30 would be a pretty good guess.
As you just heard there from Jeremy, the simple explanation for all of this is rates. And now that rates have jumped, the simple explanation would be the opposite. Prices must fall. While we have not seen direct evidence of this happening as we speak, the market is showing early warning signs once again that the downturn is coming. While most real estate data lags what's happening on the ground by a significant margin, one of the most reliable indicators we have is actually the market itself. Last year, the market began to turn severely as indicated by the Case-Shiller in June. From here, prices would fall close to 6%, but on the ground, the situation had been deteriorating for longer than what this graph seemed to indicate. You see, many were able to predict this fall months prior to it actually happening by watching the home builders. Home builders had been declining since December of 2021, a full 6 months before the fall could be detected via the Case-Shiller, and this home builder chart is typically our portal into seeing what's happening in the near term. Right now, if we take a look at the chart, we can see that following nearly a year of strong growth, home builders are once again starting to take a beating. Confidence in the industry is plummeting and the future is looking grimmer by the minute. Starting in late August, we have seen a material decline in home builder stocks, and as this push in rates continues, the sentiment is continually getting worse. Builders are now down around 10% on the month, and it's starting to look eerily similar to this, except this time around, rate relief is likely not coming to save the day. Mortgage rates are now pushing 8% instead of 6%, and the overall landscape is getting more and more unaffordable by the minute. Incentives are running out, and the builders will now be left with only one legitimate option: price cuts. We have known for months now that currently new homes and existing homes are very similar in price, which means that further price cuts in the new home market will ultimately put a drag on entire existing neighborhoods. Existing homes will face further demand challenges, and this price spiral led by home builders will trigger the initial push that dampens prices. In the next few weeks, it will be incredibly important to watch what rates do and what home builder stocks do. These two charts will tell the tale for the market for the rest of 2023 and will set up the foundation for 2024. As always, thank you guys for watching, and please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the video.